Hello and welcome back to another episode of a weekly Waypoint. I don't know when you're going to be watching this because as of the time of recording, I have no Wi-Fi, I have no internet, and that's why we are playing Unreal Tournament today, because that's one of a few offline capable games that I have downloaded on my PC. I mean, there's plenty of Xbox games I could have recorded, I could have emulated something, I don't know, I just kind of felt like going Unreal Tournament. It feels like it fits the theme. It feels like whenever my Wi-Fi is down and I'm like, I don't know what to do, I kind of just hop on Unreal Tournament and just blast away a few hours while I listen to a podcast. I did figure that I might as well make things a little bit more interesting though, so it's now domination mode instead of just your standard deathmatch. Oh, thank you so much. Sorry, my PC just told me that I can't connect to the Wi-Fi. I hadn't noticed! Anyway, besides that, what have I been up to this week? Well, I checked out Redfall. Hang on, I can't yawn in the middle of this, can I? Then again, since I'm talking about Redfall, maybe I should leave that in. For those of you who did not watch the live stream, which going by my usual statistics, actually more of you will watch the VOD than this, but never mind. My general impressions of Redfall are basically, I played for about an hour and a half, and it's currently sitting uninstalled, not sitting on anything. So not to spoil my general opinion of that game, but that's where that is right now. But it's not... I want to say it's not as bad as the reviews make it out to be, but I think that's because I'm going in with low expectations, whereas the people reviewing it would have been going in with fairly high expectations because of Arkane's track record of making very good games. So while a lot of reviews are coming out going, that's weird, this game really kind of sucks, I'm out here going, that's weird, this game only kind of sucks. It's like we're arriving at the same conclusion, but I'm feeling better about it because I've already been pre-informed, which I guess is a good argument for why reviews exist, right? Even though when it comes to movie reviews and stuff, I'm always out here like, do we really need movie reviewers? Because they just kind of shit on people's dreams. Who cares about movie reviewers? When it comes to games, I'm like, hey, game reviews are a pretty decent thing to have around. Maybe it's because I understand one industry more than I understand the other. More speculation at 11. But yeah, since I didn't want to have to free up like 180 gigabytes for my damn PC, which I did not have to spare, I decided to try the Xbox version, despite knowing it was going to be capped at 30 frames a second. And yeah, it's definitely capped at 30 frames a second. I feel like it's one of the more bearable 30 frames a second games, but it still takes a second to adjust to it. But I feel like when they put in that 60 frames a second patch they're working on, I might re-download it and give it another go, because I don't think it was terrible. I think it's, a video game that can be played and can... well, I say it can be played, maybe that's being a little generous. There are some clips out there online of people running into some pretty horrific bugs, and it's not just a few of them, it's quite a lot of them, it's quite replicable, it's quite often. And the thing that baffles me is, right, so Phil Spencer did this interview, and I recommend that you go and listen to the interview in its entirety if you have time, with Kinda Funny Xcast, I think they call it, and it's a really fascinating interview because it's Phil Spencer in one of his lower moments, and he's a CEO, and some people think his personality is part of a brand strategy. I think it's legitimately him, but that's just me. But it's interesting to see him kind of like openly come to this conversation and be like, yeah, about Redfall then. And I've seen people taking his quotes out of context, and then I've seen people taking his quotes with context and just being jerks about it. Like, Phil Spencer's succumbing to loser mentality is one video I saw and did not click on. I think for the most part in the interview he handled it really well. He was honest, and he never blamed anyone but himself. And obviously we don't know the inner machinations of how the company works and what could have been done better. Like, I still would have liked them to ask him a few more questions about, like, okay, but what's the QA situation like? Is this a direct result of you laying off QA staff because you needed to meet particular goals, and now you've pushed out a less than stellar video game because of it? But one thing he did mention is that they should probably have given Redfall more support after they acquired Bethesda. They just kind of assumed it would be okay. But one thing that alarmed me a little bit was when he was asked, like, did you not see this coming? And he mentioned that they have like internal mock reviewers who gave it like double digits higher in score than they were expecting from critics. And at that point I have to be like, why did you think that was going to happen? We're playing the same game, right? Like, even me, who's playing this game, being like, hey, it's not as bad as people are making it out to be, it's still a 6 out of 10 at most. I think that is probably the biggest red flag to come out of that interview. Just like, why did they think that it was gonna be like a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10 game? Like, how did, like, it's not just about the way it runs and the bugs, it's about the inherent game design. Again, I only played an hour and a half of it. You can literally go and see where I got up to and be like, wow, Christian really did not put a lot of time into that game. But I saw enough. Like, you begin with side quest ass missions. The story is told to you in slideshows, and there's no like character animations in the cutscenes, and like, what are we doing? But yeah, I'm not like a huge Arcane Studios fan. Like, I don't mean that as in like I'm not a fan of them. I mean as in like I've played the first few hours of Dishonored, and I've seen Reese play a bit of Prey, and I think that looks really neat, and that's about it. Oh, and I tried Deathloop, and it wasn't my jam at all. But I know that if this was like Starfield, and Starfield came out to like 5 out of 10 reviews or whatever, and I didn't enjoy it at all, and it ran like shit, and it had tons of bugs, I'm kind of still expecting the tons of bugs. It is a Bethesda game, but besides all that, I would be pretty damn miffed, so I can kind of understand the sentiment around Redfall. And in fact, this has got me worrying about Starfield, because Starfield is probably my most anticipated game of the year. Besides maybe Diablo 4, it's a toss-up between the two. I at least know Diablo 4 plays pretty damn well from the beta, from what I've played. They can only mess that up with microtransactions now, which, you know, they don't have a history of doing, right? Checks list. But yeah, Redfall came out, kind of stole the topic of the week, kind of shook gaming. I don't know if maybe people are already talking about other things tomorrow by the time this video is supposed to come out, but hopefully that's still relevant. And now, if you're sick of hearing people talk about Redfall, I do apologise, but I don't know, I just felt like giving my 2 cents on it. Anyway, in terms of what else I've been playing this week, I've kind of fallen back into my usual habit of being distracted by a new game every few days, in terms of like seeing stuff on Game Pass or whatever. Like, for a few months there, I was able to be either focused or, worryingly, wasn't actually that interested in games at all. But I'm back on my bullshit. I'm back in full on like, ooh, new shiny thing over here mode. And this week I have begun new saves in Forager, in Star Wars The Force Unleashed, in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and maybe another game? Let me think about that for a second. I downloaded Ravenlock. That's the 4th thing that was on my mind. I'm gonna start Ravenlock at some point, maybe today. But yeah, let's start from one by one. Forager. Again, still not diagnosed for ADHD, but if I do have that, as I believe I do, I believe like Forager is like Dark Souls for people with ADHD. It is so difficult to concentrate on one thing as you get further through the game, and you have more lands, and resources keep sprouting up and getting in the way, and you're trying to keep on top of your resources, and gathering them, and crafting things with different fucking crafters that you've got around the place, and chasing different objectives, and different avenues of making money, and making... Did I just say making money twice? And getting XP to level up and everything. And it's just like, it's like playing a Minecraft survival mod. I would be very interested to hear from people who believe themselves to be neurotypical as to whether this is like a quote-unquote normal thing or not. But I find that games like... kind of like the survival crafting games, but specifically Forager is very intense with it. If like having multiple avenues of progression at once like that, like games like Forager or a Minecraft mod pack, or I think I also felt this with like Factorio. If staying on top of remembering what you're doing and not getting distracted by things, is that just like a universal experience, or is that like a neurodivergent thing? Let me know. Although that being said, one of the most common things about stating that you think you have ADHD is for people to be like, oh yeah, but I do that, and it's not necessarily the thing that you do that, it's more like the severity of the amount of time in which you do it and how it affects your life. But anyway, video games and mental health, they're intrinsically linked, who knew? Anyway, yeah, I was like, hey, Forager, that'll be a nice, quick 100% achievement run, right? No, I'm like 6 hours into it and I have like 2 achievements. Game's fun though. Star Wars The Force Unleashed was on sale for £3, and I was curious because it's one of a few Star Wars games I've never played. I mean, I've never beaten most Star Wars games, but I've at least tried many of them. And that game is fun as shit. I might put a video out on it at some point. I do need to play more of it if I'm going to make a video on it, but for those of you who have never played it, it really is like... They do nail the feeling of just being this fucking badass force wielder who can chuck people around at their leisure, and it's just a lot of fun to be an evil Sith in that scenario. I know in that game you can kind of go 2 separate routes from, you know, staying as a Sith or becoming a Jedi and being a good guy. I actually think... Normally in games like that I do the good route first and then the evil route second, right? I think if you want to call Jedi and Sith good and evil, I know it's a bit more grey than that sometimes. Depending on the depiction, but I think this time I want to go full Sith mode to start with, just because that's what feels good in that game. It's just like your first proper mission, because the game opens as you playing Darth Vader, your first proper mission as Starkiller, I believe he's called, is, hey, go enter this place and hunt down this Jedi and kill him. But also, because no one's supposed to know you exist, also kill all the stormtroopers you see as well as all of the rebels. So you're just there to kill everyone, and it's a really fun time. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you've got Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is a prequel to a game which came out very recently that I don't have. I played Fallen Order a bit on PS4 many years ago, a few years ago, it hasn't been out for that long, and I think I know now, I got to the second planet and I got to some rolling ball puzzles, and ultimately they were boring and annoying to do, and I think I realised I had to undo a bunch of my work, and I walked away from the game and I never turned it on again. But now I'm like, hey, I can play this on a console that can run it at 60 frames a second, so I've almost got back to where I was. And that game is really fun. It's the exact opposite of a Force Unleashed, because not only are you a good Jedi person, but also like it's less about flinging people around and being a Force god, and more about being like, you know, very not strategic, but very deliberate in your button presses and you know, your approach to combat encounters. So playing those side by side is fun. I'm also still playing Kingdoms of Amalur here and there, and I do plan to go back to Oblivion soon. I don't want to take too big of a break from Oblivion because I still feel the itch to be playing that game. Also, on the things that I am watching front, I am still watching through Star Trek, for those of you keeping count, because I am watching through it in release order. I have just got to the Trouble with Tribbles, which was hyped up to be a pretty silly and fun episode, and wouldn't you know it, it turned out to be a pretty silly and fun episode. I nearly said a pretty Philly and Sun episode, that's not what I meant. And it also marks like halfway through the original series, because I believe each series has 30 episodes, and I'm on season 2, episode 16, as of the time of recording. Oh my goodness, is my attention span actually going to hold out and let me get to like the modern stuff? That would be really cool. Sometimes I go and check my Twitter feed for the week just to remind myself what I've been blabbering about, so that I can bring it up as a topic of conversation in the weekly Waypoint. But I just went to check Twitter on my mobile data, and I think Twitter's down as well. What the actual fuck is happening? Is there going to be an internet by the time this video is meant to be published? I mean, don't get me wrong, Twitter's not been the most reliable of services since Elon took over and fired all the maintenance stuff, but you know, what can you do? Wait a second. What are these strange bars I'm seeing in the bottom right of my screen? What are these notifications I'm getting on my phone? I'm back! I'm connected to the world once more! Well, that's it then. I'm scrapping this video, throwing it in the bin, and then spending the entire time it took to make this video going and making a completely different weekly Waypoint instead in another game. Why not? I'll just release this one in the meantime and save the one I record for next week. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Oh, by the way, one last topic for this weekly Waypoint. A game I keep forgetting about is coming out this month. It's called LEGO 2K Drive. I have no idea if it's going to be any good, but what's interesting is when Forza Horizon did that LEGO DLC, I remember thinking like, they should do like a new LEGO Racers game. I never played the original, but like now that they're doing this like LEGO Speed Champions series with these realistic licensed cars as LEGO things, it would be pretty cool if they could like do a video game about that. And only the fucking Mad Lads have only gone and done it, and I'm excited for it. I hope it's good. I'm not sure if there's much information about it yet, but I remember I felt this way about Hot Wheels Unleashed when that was first shown, and it was like being made by Milestone, and I remember everyone was like, huh, that seems neat, and I was like, no, you don't understand, this is going to be my fucking game of the year if it comes out right. I feel like I feel a similar thing about LEGO 2K Drive. So hopefully that's good. I don't know what day in May it comes out on. Hang on, I'm gonna go look it up because I can do that now. It comes out on May 19th, wouldn't you know? That's exciting, isn't it? So yeah, in case that game is not on your radar, and you like Lego, or you like racing, or you like Lego and racing, and you want to see those two games combined, congratulations, it's going to be a thing that's going to happen. I hope you're excited, I'm excited too. Then again, I might not get it this month because money. If only I had all the money in the world and I could spend it on video games. Oh, and I guess Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom comes out this week too. People are very excited about that, but unfortunately, despite really liking Breath of the Wild, I just can't get myself excited about a sequel. I think it looks too similar, and if I wanted that, I would just go and finish Breath of the Wild, which I have not done. So there's an unpopular opinion, but I hope it's good for the people who like it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. It's a little bit all over the place, but then again, when is it not? I will still have shorts going up throughout the week for you to look forward to, because that's what the audience desperately seems to crave. I will see you next time. Goodbye. Be good.